when the colonel burst through the door of the parachute repair facility and shouted, "I need Hannah Volkov right now." Every worker in the room stopped and stared. But nobody was more surprised than me, quietly stitching reinforcement patches in the corner where I'd spent the last 5 years trying to forget who I used to be. My name is Hannah Volkov. I'm 38 years old. And for the past 5 years, I've been a contract worker at Fort Bragg, repairing and inspecting parachutes for the 82nd Airborne Division. It's quiet work. Meditative. The kind of work where your hands stay busy while your mind can finally rest. That Tuesday morning started like every other. I arrived at 0600, made coffee in the break room, and settled at my workstation in the corner of the large warehouse facility. The other workers, mostly veterans and civilian contractors, barely acknowledged me. I was just Hannah, the quiet woman who kept to herself and did exceptional work. They had no idea who I really was. I was examining a parachute canopy, checking every seam with the kind of attention to detail that came from knowing that lives depended on quality work, when the door slammed open. Colonel Richards strode in wearing combat fatigues, his face showing barely controlled urgency. "Hannah Volkov," he called out, his voice echoing through the facility. "Where is Hannah Volkov?" I raised my hand slowly, confused. "Here, sir." He crossed the warehouse in long strides, stopping directly in front of my workstation. "You need to come with me. Right now." "Sir, I'm in the middle of an inspection." "Leave it. This is Priority Alpha. Delta Force has requested you by name." The room went completely silent. Every worker was staring now. "Sir, I think there's been a mistake. I'm a parachute technician. I don't..." He cut me off, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "Hannah Maria Volkov, age 38, former CIA Special Activities Division. 12 languages fluent, 6 more conversational. Expert in deep cover infiltration, identity assumption, and high-risk extraction. Operational designation, chameleon." My blood went cold. Nobody was supposed to know that. Nobody at this facility, at least. That was a different life, Colonel. I'm retired. Retired status revoked as of 15 minutes ago. We have a situation that requires your specific skill set. National security level. One of my co-workers, a former Army sergeant named Mike, spoke up. "Colonel, sir. Hannah just fixes parachutes. I think you might have the wrong person." Richards didn't even look at him. "Ms. Volkov, we can continue this conversation here or in private. Your choice." I set down my needle and thread carefully. "Give me 2 minutes to secure my workstation. You have 1 minute." I quickly folded the parachute I was working on, logged it in the system, and grabbed my personal bag. My hands were steady, but my mind was racing. 5 years. 5 years of peace. 5 years of simple work that didn't require me to be someone else, to lie, to risk my life. And now they were pulling me back. I followed Richards out of the facility. Behind me, I heard my co-workers whispering. What the hell just happened? Did he say CIA? Hannah's a spy. Richards led me to a black SUV with tinted windows. 2 armed Marines stood guard. "Get in," he said. "Colonel, I need to know what this is about before I go anywhere." He handed me a tablet showing a classified briefing document. I scanned it quickly. High-value target. American diplomat captured by hostile forces. 48 hours until public execution. My stomach tightened. Send Delta Force. Send SEALs. Send anyone but me. We can't. The location is deep inside enemy territory. Any military insertion would be detected immediately. We need someone who can walk in the front door without raising suspicion. There are other operatives. Not with your skill set. This requires someone who can speak 3 specific dialects fluently, assume a credible local identity, and execute an extraction without support. The list of people who can do that is exactly 1 person long. He looked at me directly. You, Hannah. We need you. I closed my eyes briefly, feeling the weight of those words. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. I'm not sure I can still do this. Your psychological evaluation from your exit interview said you left because of burnout, not inability. Your skills haven't degraded. You've just been resting them. Resting them, I repeated bitterly. Is that what we're calling PTSD now? Richard's expression softened slightly. I know what we're asking. I know what you sacrificed during your operational years. But right now, there's a 53-year-old diplomat with 2 kids who's going to be executed on camera in 36 hours unless someone can get him out. Why did you wait so long? If you've known about this for 48 hours? We didn't wait. We tried every other option first. 3 different extraction plans, all deemed too risky. The president personally authorized reaching out to you as a last resort. I looked at the photo of the diplomat. Thomas Richardson, career State Department, 28 years of service. The photo showed him with his family, smiling, unaware that he would one day be captured by terrorists. How much time do I have? 36 hours from now, they release the execution video. You need to be in country and operational within 12 hours. That gives you 24 hours to execute. That's insane. I need time to prepare, to research, to build a cover identity. We have everything ready. Full briefing packet, cover documentation, support assets. We've been preparing for the past 24 hours, in case you said yes. In case I said yes, I repeated. You mean you assumed I would? We hoped. Because you're the only person who can bring him home alive. I stood there in the parking lot, feeling the morning sun on my face, listening to the sounds of the base around me. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. If I went back to that life, even for one mission, would I be able to return to this peace? Or would I be pulled back into the world of lies and danger that had nearly destroyed me? But then I thought about Thomas Richardson's family, about his kids who deserve to have their father come home. Okay, I said quietly. I'll do it. But this is the last time. After this, I go back to my parachutes, and you never contact me again. Agreed, Richard said immediately. I got into the SUV. As we drove toward the command center, I pulled out my phone and sent a text to my supervisor at the parachute facility. Family emergency. We'll be gone for a few days. Sorry for the short notice. Then I turned off my phone and began mentally preparing for what came next. The transformation from Hannah, the seamstress, to Chameleon, the operative. It was like putting on an old coat that didn't quite fit anymore, but still remembered the shape of your body. We arrived at a secure facility I had never seen before. Richards led me through multiple security checkpoints into a classified briefing room. Inside, 6 men in combat gear stood around a table covered with maps and satellite imagery. Delta Force operators, the best of the best. They all turned when I entered, and I saw recognition in their eyes. One of them, a major with the nameplate Williams, stepped forward. Chameleon. It's an honor, ma'am. Just Hannah, please. I haven't used that call sign in 5 years. Ma'am, I was on the ground in Syria in 2018. You extracted 3 of my team members when they were captured. We never met. But I know what you did. You saved their lives. I nodded, remembering that operation. 3 Delta operators captured by ISIS. I had gone in as a Red Crescent worker and walked them out right under the terrorists' noses. That was the job, I said simply. Williams gestured to the table. Ma'am, we have 36 hours to get Thomas Richardson out of Yemen. Every plan we've developed fails. Except one. The one that requires you. Show me. For the next 2 hours, they walked me through every detail. Richardson had been captured while traveling in a supposedly safe zone in Yemen. His security detail was killed. He was taken to a compound controlled by a militant group with ties to Al-Qaeda. The compound was in a populated area. Heavy civilian presence. Any military action would result in massive collateral damage and international incident. We need someone who can walk in without raising alarms. Williams explained. Someone who can pose as a local, gain access to Richardson, and extract him without the militants knowing what happened until you're both long gone. What's my cover identity? We have 3 options prepared. All backstopped and verified. You choose which one fits best. He pulled up profiles on a screen. Option 1. Aid worker with a Turkish NGO. Gets you access to the compound under humanitarian mission. Option 2. Journalist from Qatar, doing a story on the militants. Gives you direct contact with leadership. Option 3. Local woman, distant relative of one of the militants, coming to deliver supplies. I studied each option carefully, running through scenarios in my mind. Option 3, I said. The others put me in positions where I'm notable, where I'll be remembered. A local woman delivering supplies is invisible. Nobody pays attention to her. Williams nodded approvingly. That was our recommendation too. But we wanted to see if you'd reach the same conclusion. What languages will I need? Arabic, obviously. Yemeni dialect. Possibly some Mari, depending on who you encounter. I speak both. What about documents? Complete identity packet. You're Amina Hassan, age 35, cousin to one of the militants. You're bringing food and supplies from family in Sana'a. How solid is the backstory? We have actual family members who've been briefed. If anyone checks, they'll confirm you're real. The militant's cousin actually exists, but is currently out of the country. You're using her identity with family consent. Smart. That gives me a legitimate reason to be there, and legitimate connections, if questioned. Colonel Richards spoke up. Hannah, I need to be clear. Once you're inside that compound, we can't help you. No air support. No quick reaction force. You're completely on your own. I've always been on my own, Colonel. That's how this work operates. If you're compromised, if they discover who you are, then I'll be the one in the execution video instead of Richardson. I understand the risks. One of the Delta operators, a younger man with the name tag Morrison, asked quietly. Ma'am, no disrespect, but you've been out of the field for 5 years. Are you sure you can still do this? I looked at him directly. Son, I spent 15 years being other people. I've been a refugee, a doctor, a terrorist's wife, an arms dealer, a government minister. I've infiltrated groups that would kill me slowly if they knew what I was. 5 years doesn't erase that. It just means I've had time to recover from it. William smiled slightly. That's what we needed to hear. When can you be ready? Give me 6 hours to study the briefing materials and prepare. I'll need to physically transform, memorize the cover identity, and get into the right headspace. You'll have everything you need. Transport to Yemen leaves at 2200 hours tonight. I nodded, feeling the old, operational mindset clicking into place. The ability to compartmentalize, to become someone else, to suppress Hannah Volkov, and embrace whoever I needed to be. It was like a switch flipping in my brain. Uncomfortable but familiar. All right, I said. Let's bring Thomas Richardson home. 6 hours later, I sat in a preparation room surrounded by clothing, makeup, documents, and everything I needed to become Amina Hassan. Williams entered with a thick briefing file. Ma'am, before you transform, I need to walk through the operational history. My team needs to understand who they're working with. I'm just an operator, Major. Like any other. With respect, ma'am, you're not. You're a legend. And legends have reputations that either help or hurt operations. I need my team to know which one applies here. Fair enough. What do they need to know? He pulled up a presentation on a secure tablet. Hannah Volkov, recruited by CIA at age 23 after demonstrating exceptional linguistic ability and psychological adaptability. Joined Special Activities Division at 25. Operational for 13 years before retirement. That's the official version. What's the real story? Williams smiled slightly. The real story is that you're the most successful deep cover operative in modern CIA history. 72 missions over 13 years. 100% success rate. 0 compromises. 0 failures. He clicked to a series of photos, all of different women who looked nothing like each other. Tehran, 2015. You spent 6 months embedded in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a translator. extracted 3 Israeli intelligence assets, and walked out without anyone knowing you'd been there. I remembered that mission. The constant fear of discovery. The meticulous attention to every detail of the cover identity. Baghdad, 2016. You posed as an Iraqi doctor and gained access to an ISIS commander's compound. You didn't extract anyone. You just provided intelligence that led to a drone strike that eliminated 12 high-value targets. That one still haunted me. I had treated wounded fighters, built trust, knowing I was marking them for death. Caracas, 2017. You became the mistress of a Venezuelan intelligence officer and fed us their entire operational structure for 6 months. I closed my eyes briefly at that memory. That mission had required me to do things I still couldn't think about without feeling sick. Williams continued. Damascus, 2018. The one Morrison mentioned. 3 Delta operators captured by ISIS. You went in as a Red Crescent worker, bribed the right people, and walked them out disguised as wounded civilians being transferred to a hospital. That was one of the good ones, I said quietly. Nobody died, except the people who deserved it. Ma'am, in your 13 years operational, you personally saved 43 American lives. You provided intelligence that prevented at least 8 major terrorist attacks. You helped dismantle 3 hostile intelligence networks. He paused. But it cost you everything, didn't it? I looked at him directly. Every mission required me to be someone else, to suppress who I really was and become whoever the mission needed. After 13 years, I couldn't remember who Hannah Volkov actually was anymore. I was just a collection of false identities. That's why you retired. That's why I broke down, I corrected. I finished a mission in Libya, came home for debriefing, and couldn't stop being the person I had pretended to be. I spent 3 weeks thinking I was a Libyan arms dealer named Fatima. I didn't recognize my own face in the mirror. Williams looked sympathetic. The psychological evaluation said dissociative identity disorder, brought on by prolonged deep cover work. Fancy words for losing yourself in the lies. I spent 8 months in psychiatric treatment learning how to be Hannah again, learning which memories were real and which were constructed for cover identities. And that's when you retired. The CIA offered me a desk job, training new operatives. I couldn't do it. I couldn't teach other people how to destroy themselves the way I had. So I walked away. Williams closed the tablet. Ma'am, my team needs to know. Can you still do this? Can you become Amina Hassan without losing Hannah again? I thought about that question carefully. I don't know, Major. Honestly, I don't. But Thomas Richardson doesn't have the luxury of me figuring that out before I try. So I'm going to do what I always did. I'm going to become someone else, complete the mission, and hope I can find my way back. That's all I needed to hear. My team will provide whatever support we can from outside. But once you're in that compound, I'm on my own. I know. One more thing, he said. The reason Delta Force requested you specifically by name. I raised an eyebrow. In 2019, you extracted a CIA asset from Pakistan. He had been compromised and was being hunted by ISI. You spent 2 weeks getting him across the border into Afghanistan. I remember. He was a case officer who had gotten sloppy. That case officer was my brother, Williams said quietly. John Williams. You saved his life. He died 2 years later in a training accident. But those 2 years meant he got to meet his daughter, see his son graduate high school, tell our mother he loved her one last time. He met my eyes. You gave my family 2 more years with him. When this mission came up and someone mentioned Chameleon might still be available, I personally requested you. Because I know you don't quit. You don't fail. And you bring people home. I felt emotion tighten my throat. I'm sorry about your brother. He was a good man. He was. And you're a good woman. That's why I trust you with this. Williams left me alone to prepare. I looked at the clothing laid out on the table. Traditional Yemeni women's dress. Hijab. Simple sandals. Everything chosen to make me invisible, unremarkable. I began the transformation process. First, the physical changes. I applied makeup to darken my skin, to match Yemeni complexion, changed my eye color with contacts, applied temporary henna tattoos and traditional patterns to my hands. Then, the documentation. I memorized every detail of Amina Hassan's life. Her birthday, her parents' names, her childhood home, her education, her marriage and divorce, her children who lived with their father. I rehearsed her mannerisms. The way she walked, slightly hunched from years of manual labor. The way she avoided direct eye contact with men, culturally appropriate. The way she spoke, with a specific accent of someone from Sana'a. 3 hours into the preparation, I looked in the mirror and saw Amina Hassan looking back. Hannah Volkov had disappeared. A knock on the door. Williams entered with 2 other Delta operators. "Ma'am, we need to do a verification test. Make sure the transformation is complete. Go ahead." He spoke to me in Arabic, asking questions about my family, my journey, why I was coming to the compound. I answered in perfect Yemeni dialect, never breaking character, embodying Amina completely. William smiled and switched back to English. "Flawless. I couldn't tell you weren't actually her." "That's the point," I said, but my voice was still Amina's, slightly accented English. I shook my head slightly, forcing Hannah back to the surface. "Sorry. Sometimes the character takes over faster than I expect." "Is that dangerous?" "It's necessary. If I'm going to survive in that compound, I can't be pretending to be Amina. I have to actually be her. No hesitation, no performance, just complete immersion in the identity." "How do you come back from that?" "I don't know yet," I said honestly. "That's the part I'm still figuring out." "Richardson's file," Williams said, handing me a folder. "Study it. You need to be able to identify him, gain his trust quickly, and move him when the opportunity arises." I opened the file and studied the diplomat's face, his background, his psychological profile. He's going to be terrified. Traumatized. He might not trust you. Then I'll make him trust me. That's what I do. The next 2 hours, I studied every detail of the compound layout, guard rotations, civilian movement patterns, potential extraction routes. Delta Force had done exceptional reconnaissance work. They knew when the guards changed, when prayer times created opportunities, when the compound was most vulnerable. But knowing and executing were different things. At 2200 hours, I stood on the tarmac at Pope Army Airfield, dressed as Amina, carrying only what a local woman would carry. Williams and his team stood nearby in full combat gear, preparing to deploy to a forward operating base in Djibouti, where they would wait for my extraction signal. "Ma'am," Williams said. "Final brief. You have 24 hours from touchdown in Yemen to locate Richardson and get him to the extraction point. If you miss that window, we have to abort and you extract alone." "Understood. Your emergency beacon is sewn into the hem of your dress. 3 presses activates it. But using it means you've been compromised and we come in loud. Lots of casualties, international incident, the works. Then I won't use it unless I have no choice." One of the younger Delta operators approached hesitantly. "Ma'am, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead. How do you do it?" "How do you walk into a place where everyone would kill you if they knew what you were and just pretend to be someone else?" I thought about his question. "I don't pretend. That's the secret. I become that person. I believe the lie so completely that it's not a lie anymore. And I trust that somewhere deep inside, Hannah is still there, waiting to come back out when the mission is done." "Does she always come back?" "So far," I said quietly. "So far." The loadmaster signaled that the aircraft was ready. I walked toward the cargo plane alone, a Yemeni woman going home with supplies for family, while behind me Delta Force prepared for war. This was the lonely part of being chameleon. Everyone else had teams, support, backup. I had only myself and the character I was becoming. As the plane lifted off into the night, I closed my eyes and let Amina Hassan fully take over. Hannah Volkov would sleep until this was over. 18 hours later, I stood at the checkpoint outside the militant compound in southern Yemen, my heart steady despite the 3 armed guards staring at me with suspicion. "Identify yourself," the lead guard demanded in Arabic. "I am Amina Hassan," I replied in perfect Yemeni dialect, keeping my eyes downcast as culturally appropriate. "Cousin to Rashid al-Zahrani. I bring supplies from his family in Sana'a." The guard looked at the cloth bags I carried, filled with rice, tea, dried fruit, and other staples. "Rashid has many cousins. How do I know you're legitimate?" "His mother Fatima sends her blessings. She says to tell him his daughter Maryam had a baby boy last month. His first grandson." This was real information, provided by the actual family. The detail that would make or break my entry. The guard's expression softened slightly. He pulled out a radio and spoke into it. "There's a woman here claiming to be Rashid's cousin. Says Fatima sent her with news about Maryam's baby." A pause, then a response I couldn't hear. The guard waved me forward. "You may enter, but you will be escorted at all times. No wandering." "Of course, I understand." 2 guards flanked me as we walked through the compound. I kept my eyes down but used my peripheral vision to map everything. Guard positions, building layouts, civilian movements. The compound was larger than the satellite imagery suggested. At least 40 people present, maybe more. Women, children, fighters. A complex community, not just a military installation. That made extraction more complicated. More witnesses, more variables. We entered a building where several men sat on floor cushions, drinking tea. One of them, mid-40s with a graying beard, stood up when he saw me. "Amina? Little Amina? I haven't seen you since you were a child." "Rashid?" I said, smiling. "It's been too many years." He embraced me in the traditional manner, then gestured for me to sit. "Tell me of my mother, my sister, my niece's baby." For 20 minutes, I relayed news from his family, all of it carefully prepared and verified. I spoke of people and places I had never seen, with the confidence of someone who had grown up with them. Rashid believed every word. I was family. "And what brings you all the way here? Such a dangerous journey for a woman alone." I lowered my voice. "My husband divorced me. I have nowhere else to go. I hoped perhaps I could stay here, help with cooking and cleaning, earn my place." Rashid's expression became sympathetic. "Of course, cousin. You are family. You may stay as long as you need." Perfect. I was inside with a legitimate reason to remain. Over the next 6 hours, I integrated into the compound's daily life. I helped prepare meals in the communal kitchen. I cleaned, I listened. Then I located Thomas Richardson. He was being held in a locked room in the eastern building. 2 guards outside at all times. They fed him twice a day. Minimal contact otherwise. I needed to get close to him. To communicate the plan. To prepare him for extraction. During evening meal preparation, I approached one of the guards casually. "The American prisoner," I said quietly. "Does he eat what we prepare?" The guard shrugged. "He eats what he's given." "Why?" "I heard he's been sick. Refusing food. If he dies before they make their statement, it would be unfortunate." The guard frowned. "He's not sick. Ate this morning. Still, perhaps I should check. Make sure the food is acceptable. Prevent problems." The guard considered this. "You're just a woman bringing food. I suppose there's no harm. But I stay in the room with you." Of course, I would expect nothing less. That evening, I carried a tray of rice and vegetables to Richardson's cell. The guard unlocked the door and followed me inside. The diplomat sat on a thin mattress on the floor, hands bound, wearing filthy clothes. He looked up with hollow eyes, expecting another guard. Instead, he saw a Yemeni woman in traditional dress. I set the tray down and spoke in Arabic for the guard's benefit. "Eat. You need strength." Then, as I adjusted the food, I spoke in rapid, barely audible English. "I'm American. CIA. Here to extract you. Do not react. Do not acknowledge." Richardson's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, but he controlled his expression. "In Arabic," I continued, "the food is good. You should eat more." In English, under my breath, "Tomorrow night, 2 a.m. Be ready to move. When your door opens, follow immediately. Speak to no one. Trust me completely." Richardson picked up the rice with his bound hands and began eating. To the guard, it looked like a prisoner accepting his meal, but his hands were shaking slightly with hope. The guard spoke up. "He's eating. Good. Maybe he won't die before the video." I nodded and left the room, my heart pounding but my face calm. Phase 1 complete. Contact established. That night, I slept in the women's quarters with 3 other women and their children. They accepted me as Rashid's cousin without question. At 1 a.m., I waited until everyone was asleep, then slipped out silently. I had memorized the guard rotation schedule. There was a 7-minute gap during the change between 2 a.m. and 2:07 when Richardson's door would have only 1 guard, and that guard would be new, less alert. That was our window. I moved through the dark compound like a ghost, staying in shadows, avoiding the few security lights. At Richardson's building, I waited, watched, timed everything perfectly. 2 a.m. The guards changed. The new guard settled into position, yawning. I approached him directly, holding a small packet. "Rashid asked me to bring you this. Tea and dates. You'll need energy for the long shift." The guard smiled, grateful for the unexpected kindness. "Thank you, sister. That's very thoughtful." He took the packet. Inside was a powerful sedative I had brought, mixed into the dates. I watched as he ate one, then another. Within 3 minutes, his eyes grew heavy. "You look tired," I said gently. "Perhaps you should sit for a moment." He sat down against the wall, his eyelids drooping. 2 minutes later, he was unconscious. I took his keys and opened Richardson's door. The diplomat looked up, terrified and confused. "Come, now." Silent, I whispered in English. He stood on shaky legs. I cut his bonds with a small blade and gestured for him to follow. We moved through the compound carefully. Every shadow a potential threat. Every sound a possible alarm. I had identified 3 possible extraction routes during my reconnaissance. The primary route was through the eastern wall, where there was a blind spot in the security lights. But as we approached that area, I heard voices. Guards smoking cigarettes exactly where we needed to go. I adjusted immediately, taking Richardson toward the secondary route. Through the kitchen area, past the storage buildings, toward the southern wall. This route was longer, more exposed, but it was our only option. We were 50 meters from the wall when disaster struck. A child's cry pierced the night. One of the women's children, maybe 3 years old, had woken and noticed I was gone. His mother was calling for me. "Amina? Amina, where are you?" Lights began turning on in the women's quarters. I grabbed Richardson's arm and ran. We reached the wall. I had cached climbing equipment there during the afternoon, hidden in a pile of refuse. "Go. Over the wall. Run south. Delta Force is waiting 1 kilometer away. Run and don't stop." "What about you?" Richardson gasped. "I'll create a distraction. Now move." He started climbing as I ran back toward the compound, making noise, drawing attention away from him. I heard shouts behind me. Guards responding to the alarm. "There. Someone's there." I ran through the compound deliberately, leading them away from Richardson's escape route, giving him every second I could. But I had miscalculated. More guards than I expected converging from multiple directions. I was cut off. A guard grabbed my arm, spinning me around. My hijab fell away, revealing my face more clearly. "You're not Amina," he said, his eyes widening. "Who are you?" I reacted instantly, broke his grip, struck his throat, took his weapon as he fell. Then I ran again, now with half the compound chasing me. I made it to the eastern wall, the original extraction point. I could hear vehicles starting up outside. Delta Force responding to the alarm. I climbed the wall as gunfire erupted around me. Bullets impacted the stone near my hands. Over the wall, I dropped into darkness, just as a vehicle skidded to a halt. Williams was in the passenger seat. "Get in!" I dove into the vehicle as it accelerated. More gunfire. The rear window shattered. "Richardson!" I gasped. "Safe." Already at the extraction point. "We were coming back for you." The compound behind us exploded with activity. Vehicles pursuing, searchlights sweeping. But we had surprise, speed, and superior equipment. Williams' team executed a perfect combat extraction, losing the pursuit vehicles through a series of tactical maneuvers. 20 minutes later, we reached the helicopter landing zone where Richardson sat wrapped in a blanket, surrounded by Delta operators. He looked up when he saw me. "You saved my life." "Who are you?" "Just someone who is good at her job," I said quietly. The helicopters lifted off, taking us out of Yemen towards safety. Williams looked at me with respect. "Perfect execution, ma'am. You got him out without firing a shot until the very end. Textbook chameleon operation." I nodded, too exhausted to respond. But inside, I felt Hannah and Amina struggling. The character I had become for 36 hours didn't want to let go. It would take time to find myself again. It always did. 48 hours later, I sat in a debriefing room at Fort Bragg wearing civilian clothes, feeling like a stranger in my own skin. Williams and Colonel Richards sat across from me, along with a CIA officer I didn't recognize. "Hannah," the CIA officer said, "I'm Deputy Director Merchant. I wanted to personally thank you for bringing Thomas Richardson home. His family is grateful beyond words. I just did what was asked of me." "You did far more than that," Richards said. "You executed a perfect infiltration and extraction under impossible conditions. 0 civilian casualties, 0 American casualties. The diplomat is home safely, and the militants think it was an inside betrayal, not American intervention." Merchant leaned forward. "Which brings me to why I'm here. We want you back. Full reinstatement. Special Activities Division. You can name your position, your salary, your terms." I had been expecting this. "No," I said simply. The room went silent. "Ma'am," Williams said carefully, "you just proved you're still the best there is. We need operators like you. You need someone who can lose themselves in false identities and not lose their mind in the process. That's not me anymore." "But you completed the mission perfectly," Merchant argued. "And I've spent the past 48 hours trying to remember who I actually am," I said. My voice harder now. "I keep starting to speak in Arabic. I keep thinking I'm Amina Hassan. Last night, I introduced myself to a nurse as Amina, and didn't even realize it until she looked confused." Merchant's expression became concerned. "That's just temporary disorientation. It'll pass." "Will it? Or will I end up like I was 5 years ago, unable to recognize my own face in the mirror, thinking I'm someone I created for a mission?" I stood up. I did this one mission because Thomas Richardson deserved to come home to his family. But I'm done. Permanently. I'm going back to my parachutes and my quiet life, and I'm not taking any more calls. "Hannah," Richard said gently, "we understand you need time to decompress. Take a month. 6 months. Whatever you need. But keep the door open." "The door is closed, Colonel. Permanently." William spoke up. "Ma'am, can I speak freely?" "Of course. My team watched you work. We saw someone who was born for this job, who does it better than anyone else alive. Walking away from that gift seems wrong." I looked at him directly. "Major, do you know why I repair parachutes?" "No, ma'am. Because parachutes are simple. Fabric, thread, honest work. When I stitch a seam, it's real. It exists. It's not a lie or a performance or a false identity. It's just Hanna Volkov, fixing something that's broken so it can save lives." I paused. Every mission I ran for 13 years required me to be someone else, to suppress who I really was and become whoever the job needed. I saved lives doing it, yes. but I lost myself in the process. Do you know what that feels like? To look in a mirror and not know which person looking back is real. The saucer room was quiet. So yes, I'm walking away from the gift, because the cost of using it is too high. I'd rather be a seamstress who knows who she is than a legendary operative who doesn't. Merchant closed his file folder. We can't force you, but the offer stands indefinitely. If you ever change your mind, I won't. Then thank you for your service, Hannah. Your country owes you a debt it can never repay. After they left, I sat alone in the debriefing room for a long time. Part of me, a small part, felt the pull of operational work, the adrenaline, the satisfaction of impossible missions accomplished, the knowledge that I was uniquely good at something that mattered. But the larger part of me just wanted peace. 3 days later, I walked back into the parachute repair facility at Fort Bragg. My co-workers stopped working when I entered. They had been briefed by someone, knew now who I really was. Mike, the former Army sergeant, approached hesitantly. Hannah, we heard about what you did, about who you are. It's incredible. It's classified, I said quietly. And I'd appreciate if everyone just treated me like they did before. Like the quiet woman who fixes parachutes. Exactly like that. Another co-worker, Maria, spoke up. But you're a hero. You saved people. You should be celebrated. I've been celebrated enough for one lifetime, I said. I just want to work in peace. I returned to my workstation in the corner, picked up the parachute I had abandoned 5 days ago, and resumed my inspection. The familiar rhythm of the work calmed me. Thread through fabric. Check each seam. Look for flaws. Fix what's broken. Simple, real, honest. Over the next weeks, my co-workers gradually returned to treating me normally. The whispers faded. The sideways glances stopped. I was just Hannah again. The quiet seamstress. One morning, about 6 weeks after my return, Colonel Richards appeared at the facility again. I looked up from my work, my heart sinking. Colonel, I said firmly, I told you I'm done. He held up both hands. I'm not here to recruit you. I'm here to deliver something. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Hannah, my name is Thomas Richardson. You saved my life in Yemen. I know you prefer to remain private, and I will respect that. But I needed you to know what your courage meant. Because of you, I got to see my daughter graduate from college last week. I got to walk her down the aisle at her wedding last month. I got to hold my wife again and tell her I love her. You gave me my life back. You gave my family their husband and father back. I understand you've returned to quiet work. I understand you want peace. But please know that every morning, when I wake up next to my wife, every time I hug my children, every ordinary moment I get to experience, it's because of your extraordinary sacrifice. You are a hero, even if you don't want to be called one. With eternal gratitude, Thomas Richardson. I read the letter twice, feeling unexpected emotion. Richard spoke quietly. He wanted to meet you personally. I told him you preferred anonymity, but he insisted I deliver that letter. Thank you, Colonel. One more thing, he said. This came from higher up. I can't refuse it. He handed me a small box. Inside was a medal, the CIA intelligence star. For extraordinary heroism in the conduct of intelligence operations, Richard said. It won't be public. It goes in your classified file. But the recognition is real. I closed the box. I appreciate it. But I'd trade every medal I've earned for one quiet week of knowing who I am without questioning it. Richards nodded slowly. I understand. And I won't bother you again. But Hannah, if there's ever anything you need, anything at all, you have the full weight of the United States military behind you. One phone call, and you'll have whatever you require. All I require is to be left alone to do my work. He smiled slightly. Then that's what you'll have. After he left, I put the medal in my locker and returned to my parachute. 6 months passed. Then a year. I settled back into the quiet rhythm of my work. The memories of Yemen faded, not gone, but manageable. Amina Hassan's voice in my head grew quieter until it was just a whisper I could ignore. Hannah Volkov was real again. Solid. Present. One Tuesday morning, almost exactly 2 years after the Yemen extraction, I was working on a particularly complex parachute repair when my supervisor approached. "Hannah, there's someone here to see you." I looked up concerned. Nobody visited me at work. In the small office near the entrance stood a young woman, mid-20s, with Thomas Richardson's eyes. She stood when she saw me. "Miss Volkov? I'm Sarah Richardson, Thomas Richardson's daughter. I hope it's okay that I came. How did you find me? My father has connections, but he doesn't know I'm here. I came on my own because I needed to meet you. I should have asked her to leave. Should have maintained my privacy. But I didn't." "What did you need?" I asked gently. "Just to say thank you. In person. My father wrote you a letter. But I needed you to know what you did for our entire family." Tears started falling down her face. "My dad walked me down the aisle at my wedding. He was there when I graduated. He's going to be there when I have children someday. All of that exists because you went into hell to bring him home." I felt my own throat tighten. "I'm glad he's safe. That's all that matters." She pulled out a photograph. "This is my family. My husband, my mom, my dad, my brother. We're all together because of you. I wanted you to have this. To know that your sacrifice meant something real." I took the photograph. A happy family, smiling, whole. "Thank you," I said quietly. "This means more than you know." After Sarah left, I put the photograph in my locker next to the medal I never wore. And I returned to my parachute, stitching carefully, each seam a small act of creating safety for people I would never meet. That evening, as I walked to my car, I noticed William standing near the parking lot in civilian clothes. "Major," I said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "Just checking in, making sure you're okay." "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." He smiled. "You know, my brother used to talk about you. He said Chameleon was the only operator he ever met who understood what we were really fighting for. Not glory or country or missions accomplished. Just bringing people home. That's all that ever mattered," I said. He nodded. "The world has people like me. Soldiers who kick down doors and fight the enemy head on. But the world also needs people like you. People who can walk into impossible situations quietly and bring people home without anyone even knowing you were there. I used to be that person. Now I'm just Hannah. And that's enough." Williams extended his hand. "Then be Hannah. Live in peace. You've earned it more than anyone I know." We shook hands, and he walked away. I drove home to my small apartment, made dinner, and sat on my balcony watching the sunset. Somewhere in the world, Thomas Richardson was having dinner with his family. Sarah was building her life. The Delta operators Williams led were preparing for their next mission. And I was here, quiet, anonymous, no longer trying to be someone I wasn't. The next morning, I returned to the parachute facility and resumed my work. A young airborne soldier dropped off a parachute for repair, the canopy torn from a hard landing. "Think you can fix it?" he asked. I examined the damage carefully. "Yes. It'll take time and careful work, but I can make it safe again." "That's all I need to hear," he said. After he left, I spread the parachute across my workstation and began the slow, meditative process of repair. Thread through fabric, each stitch precise, each seam reinforced. This parachute would save someone's life someday. That soldier would jump from a plane, trusting that the canopy would open, that the stitching would hold, that the person who repaired it had done the work with care and skill. He would never know my name, never know my history, never know that the woman who fixed his parachute had once walked into terrorist compounds and extracted hostages. And that was exactly how I wanted it. Because true heroism isn't about recognition or medals or legendary status. It's about doing what needs to be done, helping who needs to be helped, and then returning quietly to the work that brings you peace. I was Hannah Volkov, seamstress, former operative, quiet hero. And I was finally, completely, myself again.